Hey everybody, turn the volume all the way down. Well, this is our first video recording at Hair of the Dog, and I thought I would just take you through an original image from start to finish of how I would edit this. So this is Blitz. He's super fun German Shepherd. This is straight out of the camera, and this is how I would edit that. I do most of my editing in Lightroom, and actually this image I'm going to edit fully in Lightroom. And the first thing that I usually do is I start up here with exposure. I'm going to bump up the exposure a little bit. I'm going to go up. There you go. Just a quarter of a stop. And then I usually actually have a preset that I run that pulls all of my images when I download them directly into Lightroom, doing all these little adjustments. I pull up the shadows a little bit. I pull up the whites a touch. I also pull down the blacks a little bit. And this just gives me a good starting point when I pull it into Lightroom. Saves me a lot of time, but I can adjust it as needed per image. But these are the things that I found that I was doing on almost every image, so I just created a preset to save some time. I also usually bump up the vibrance a little bit, maybe to no more than 15. We'll go 13 there. So that would be my general starting point there. Looking a little bit blue though, so I am going to bump up the white balance a bit. Let's see here. That's looking better. Now you can see there's still a little bit of blue on the dog, but I like the color of the grass here. If I go much higher, Blitz looks better, but my grass is looking too yellow. So I'm going to keep that down here, about 6,300 or so. So yeah, so that's a good starting point there. Now I want to adjust that blueness in Blitz, and I also want to bump up my luminance a little bit in the grass. So we're going to go down here, hue, color, saturation, black and white, this whole big little section of Lightroom. Now I'm going to go over to luminance, and I'm going to bump up the green a little bit. Now luminance is different than hue and saturation in that hue is the actual color, so like cherry tomato red or brick tomato red. Saturation is how much of the color there is, and luminance is the brightness of the color. So you can see if you go to the left, it makes it darker. If you go to the right, it makes it a little bit brighter. So I want to make it just a touch brighter here. Not a lot, I still want it to look natural, so this is where we were. I'm just going to bump it up right about there to 12. I don't want to go too much. Just want to keep everything looking natural and clean and realistic. Now for the blue and the dog, this works really well if there's no other blue in the image. So you can see there's a little bit of blue up here in the blacks. Not a ton, but just a little bit. You'll see the difference once we pull the blue down. I went over to saturation, so we're going to pull all that blue out. So it's just going to make him look a little bit more black. You see that difference? You can pull it all the way up to 100 and you can see where that blue is. So we don't want that. So we're going to go all the way down to the left. And you can see it doesn't affect the color anywhere else in my image because I don't really have any other blue in that image. This works really well. If you had other blue, say the owner was right here in jeans, you would want to desaturate that blue in Photoshop by using a mask because you're not able to do it in Lightroom right now because there's no targeted adjustments for hue, saturation, or luminance right now. So, all right, we're looking good. We're almost there. I'm going to go down and see what else we have here. I usually don't do much in split toning. Or sharpening in Lightroom, or noise reduction, but I am going to do lens correction. I shot this with my 24, so the 24 on a full frame camera does give you some distortion, and it also has some vignetting around the edges. So totally getting rid of the lens correction, or clicking that lens correction to get rid of all the vignetting and distortion, I don't totally love. I want to keep a little bit of those. So I actually really kind of like the distortion on this that the lens gives me. That's one of the reasons I like to shoot with those wide angles. Now you definitely don't want us to shoot people with those wide angles, but dogs can make for some fun images. So I'm going to pull that distortion all the way down. And then the lens vignetting, you can see here, it's getting really bright. This is just the natural vignetting that happens with a wide angle lens in a full frame. The corners are a little bit darker. It's not like the other vignetting you can do in Lightroom. Where is that even? I never really do it. Down here in effects, post-crop vignetting, the vignetting and lens correction is different. The the lens correction vignetting is really just what the lens does in camera. So it can automatically fix that when you do the enable lens corrections. But I liked it a little bit because I feel like it's a little bit too bright. I want the focus on the dog. I don't necessarily want the focus on the grass, but I don't want it as dark as it is all the way down there. So I'm going to kind of keep it right around the middle. That looks good. All right, we're almost done. The last thing I want to do here is just dodge and burn slightly. So I'm going to go up here to the very top to this adjustment brush, and we are going to just select exposure. I have my flow of my brush down here about 44%, right in the middle, so it's not too much. And then I am just going to paint on to darken this exposure on his nose a little bit. It's a little too bright. I want that a little darker. And then hit new, because now I just want to brighten up his eyes a smidge. So we're just going to brighten up right here, just a touch. Not too much. It's at 0.49. And yeah, just brightens it up a little bit. So hit done. And I think that is it. Here you can see the difference. Before and after. I think Blitz looks good. All right, thanks everybody for watching. Hope to bring more tutorials like this to Hair of the Dog. Talk to you soon.